Hey guys, it's Dr. Drake 63 here again today, coming at you once more with another classic 22 rifle. This one is the Remington 513T. T stands for target. This one was born in 1946. Also known as the Matchmaster, the Remington 513T has won many a shooting competition. They're known to be very accurate rifles. Well built at the Remington plant in Ilion, New York. The way they used to do it, guys. It's a beautiful rifle all the way around, and I'm looking forward to talking about it today, as well as showing you some shooting results. So you gotta love this old walnut. 1946. They still had some nice cuts they were using, right guys? The firearm's in very good shape. It has been well taken care of. You know, upon some close inspection, there's a ding here or there. But I'm impressed. See this globe sight on the front? We'll talk about that in a minute. And again, just looking at the beauty of this walnut, very impressive. So let's talk about it a little bit closer detail. And here you see this wide stock, and it's obviously a target stock. They did make a version called the 513S, which was sporter, which was more of a hunting stock. This is a Redfield peep sight, and there's a couple really cool things about this. This has an adjustable aperture, so if you notice here, as you adjust this, it actually changes your sight picture. You see how that gets smaller as I turn it, or larger? So that's really cool. And that's working awful nice after all these years. You've got adjustments for elevation right there, and windage right there, and those are some real nice positive clicks that you get there. If you take a look here, you'll see that it gives you minutes and yards, and I really can't make out the yardage on that, but there is no correlation between that being 15 yards for the proper elevation and the actual elevation. So don't know quite why we don't see that. You'll see here that this screw here, head of it's broken off. I'm going to see if I can find a replacement. It's on there nice and tight. That's really the only flaw in this firearm. But these Redfield sights are really cool. Adjustable peeps. Takes some getting used to. No question about it. We're going to look at that trigger pull in a minute. Interestingly enough, the comments I've seen in various forums, people say this trigger is the drawback of this rifle, and I don't get that. This trigger is awesome. We'll measure its weight in a second, but it's very predictable, it's very light, and maybe the later models had issues. Here you can see your magazine. Pops in right there. This is the original factory magazine, I believe. and works great. I did pick up an extra one of these while I was at the gun store today. But I'm able to get 6 rounds in there without a problem, and one thing I like about it is it snaps in place nice and tight and nice and flush. And I don't know if this is the original sling, but it wouldn't surprise me. It's got some wear to it, but it's the old school type, which we like. But just the overall shape of this, 1946. Here we're sitting in 2021, so that's very cool. I mentioned there's a cool feature on this front sight. You can see the front sight right there. Actually, this screws out and you can put different types of sights on there, and I've been told you can get them at Brownells. I'm going to look into that. I mentioned we were going to take a look at this front sight and how this works. You actually screw this piece out or loosen it up, and it allows the front sight, which is actually pretty thin, to come out, or it can fall out. So here's what that looks like. Okay. And then they basically just seat right in here, and you screw it in place. There's a couple little ears on either side. The bolt's something I'm really jazzed about. Take a look at it right here. Basically pull it back, and with the safety and the fire position, you pull the trigger back and the bolt will come right out. And what's really neat about it is you can tell that it's got that case hardened look about it. And you can see that kind of case hardened multicolor scenario right there. The good old days, right? Very nicely made. Everything's in really good shape. I did just a real quick touch-up job of cleaning after taking it to the range today. Probably put about 100 rounds through it. There's that cocked indicator I was telling you about. But it's just a beautifully made piece of machinery. This right here. Beautifully made firearm. I wanted to go ahead and do a trigger pull test on it real quick for you. So we're going to use our handy dandy Wheeler trigger gauge. And we're going to measure the pull here. £2, guys. £2. And there's no creep. It's beautiful that way. But as you can see, you've got a safety right here. Forward is fire. Little red dot there. And then back. Taking a look down the bore or into the chamber there. See, everything's in really good shape. Little bit of wear right there where there's a little bit of rust started, and we're just gonna oil that and keep our eye on it. And you can see it with the magazine seated. Very simple construction, very finely machined, as we said. So now for the overview. We went to an indoor range today. Shot at 50 yards off a rest. looking at several different types of ammo, trying to figure out what this rifle likes. So let's take a look at some target results. Most of these wider groups you see here are about me getting used to the rifle and the sight picture, fooling around with the aperture and finding what works. But once we did, you'll see that our 7-shot groups were looking more like that and that. And really, I have a hard time seeing that red color at 50 yards, especially indoors where it's not very illuminated. Not making excuses, but that's just the way it goes. But here you can see this was kind of my zeroing target that I started with, and was getting some better hits. I would have to say this rifle, certainly with a scope, is capable of a lot better at 50 yards. But holding it steady and really understanding my sight picture, this is more of what I was seeing in terms of consistent results. Again, that's at 50 yards. So I fooled around with some looks that make more sense. This is actually a 7-shot group with the same hole, thumped a few times, and also at 50. This was a lot easier for me to see at range than, say, this orange color. So, you know, got a lot of experimenting to do yet with this firearm in terms of what's going to get the best results. So I've got the 513T displayed with Mossberg 44 U.S. property. That's the one on the bottom. Both manufactured in the mid-40s, so kind of a good comparison, if you will. And you'll see that both of these are of the larger stock, heavier profile variety. Also, you'll notice, taking a look at the magazines, that's the Mossberg 44 on the bottom. A little bit flusher fit with the Remington. Smooth action, you know it. Very nice rifle, very nice rifle. I've been looking for one of these. Kind of what got me into looking for one of these particular models was having picked up the Mossberg 44 US. I asked some questions. Hey, what other rifles that are out there that are known for their accuracy? And this one came up a lot. A lot of people said, hey, the most accurate rifle they've ever fired was a 513T. Now, the latter models had grooves in the receiver. This one is drilled and tapped for a long tube scope, old school. And it's something I'm going to look into, because I don't believe I'm going to be able to understand this rifle's true potential without putting magnification on it. It's just no fair comparing this to, say, my CZ that has 12 times magnification at 50 yards. You can't say one's better than the other based on the groups, because you're talking about peep sights as opposed to magnification. And peep sights can be good. I've had people say, you know, I can shoot dime-sized groups at 50 with peep sights. I can't, just because I can't see that well, even with corrective lenses. I just can't differentiate the center of the target, or see the center of the target well enough to hit a dime-sized group. And I certainly can with magnification. So that'll be something to look into. But everything about this rifle is cool. I think that I was real lucky. I actually went, did about an hour drive to go to a gun store in Minnesota that has a lot of really cool older firearms. I was looking for an older Browning BL-22, a lever action, and have seen a lot about that firearm, and picked it up and thought, gosh, this feels like a toy in my hands. Just so small compared to that Marlin 39 lever that I love so much. And while I was there, I noticed this. Got it for what I consider to be a pretty good deal, about what I was hoping to spend for that BL-22, but I definitely got a lot more rifle. So I appreciate you watching today. More 22s from Dave Drake, go figure. As my good friend Nibs Carter said, it looks like you've got the bug, and I do. Fun rifles to shoot, and even though ammo's gone up quite a bit, it's still cheap. You can still shoot a bunch of 22 without breaking the bank if you can find it. This is Dr. Drake 63 saying thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate it. Be safe, and we'll see you soon.